immediate front of the stage, and then if we can do it in an orderly fashion from there on. And we'll commence with the ceremonies once lunch is completed. Thank you. Selected as her groom grew up in Winnipeg, Manitoba. In fact, he was born in the dead of winter, -24, -25 degrees. And I think he's been chilly ever since, but when he met a very attractive Trinidadian by origin young lady about 4 years ago, I think he's warmed up, and I think he'll continue to be warm. Allan Robinson, the groom. And starting, if I may, just on my right, every wedding, as you would well appreciate, is a madhouse come the day of the ceremony. And the other people that have worked so diligently and so hard and all remain friends at this late time in the day. I'd like to start and introduce Shelley Hofford. Could Shelley stand up? And the organist who accompanied our delightful solo at the church, if I could introduce Don Thompson, please. And another one of the lovely bridesmaids, ladies, if I could introduce Nicole Hofford. And sitting on Nicole's right from Toronto, could I introduce Doug Wilson, please? Or Wilkinson, I'm sorry, Doug. And his lovely wife, who's sister of the bride, Susan Wilkinson. And immediately to the bride's right, the best man, a longtime friend of Allan's, I'd like to introduce John Darch, if I may. And a delightful young lady who's the sister of the groom, if I may introduce Tanya Robinson. And on Tanya's right, I'd like to introduce another brother of Pat, Winston Chang, if I may. And Josephine Ma at the end, who we had to set a special place setting for. Josephine. You know, as I mentioned, for those people that are out of town and think that it rains here every day, I think we owe an applause to the weather. It's been absolutely incredible. And one of the things and one of the honors that I've had as Master of Ceremonies is having the opportunity to meet people on the groom's side, and as well I've had the opportunity to meet people on the bride's side. And one of the things that's tremendously striking is the great unity that both families have and the great distances that people travel to share in this joyous occasion. And I'd like to acknowledge a few people who I've already had the opportunity of meeting. But one of the things that's strange, and it shows you how we're families in transition, no longer do we have a small wedding ceremony and the people in the local town are invited. We seem to be stretching out across our cities, across our provinces, and yes, we're even stretching out across our countries. And I'd like to introduce some very special people. I'd like to introduce a very special grand aunt of the bride, Pat, all the way from Antigua, is Aunt Stella in the room. Cynthia and Uncle Bob, are you there? And with airfares, singularly, they brought their whole kit and caboodle. The whole tribe is here. From Trinidad, I'd like to introduce Aunt Claire, Uncle Philip, and their entire family. And I'd also like to introduce another couple who's arrived with their family, Winston and Jeremy and family. And the special note from Trinidad is they're in our beautiful city for the very first time. Are they sitting somewhere here, Winston and Jeremy? Kimmy? Winston and Kimmy? And every beautiful bride has a certain number of people who influence her life and mold and shape how she becomes. And in our bride's case of today, again, all the way from Trinidad, I'd like to introduce the lady who was responsible for this young lady's upkeep while her mother, Charmaine, was busy earning income to keep the household afloat. I'd like to introduce Pat's nanny, if I may, Romina. Romina, I saw you. And back. He's around, there he is. And you've met also from Toronto, Pat's sister Susan and her brother-in-law Doug as part of the head table. The Chang family from local distances or other distances, we welcome you to this joyous occasion. In terms of Allan Robinson, he too has some people who believe in the Robinson name and the Robinson tradition. And I'd like to introduce first someone who's arrived here all the way from Cleveland, Ohio. I know she's going to choke on that delightful wine, but Aunt Betty Short, Allan's aunt. And a little closer to home, even they're saying, shaking their heads and say, "Don't touch me, don't touch me." Please, if you would, I'd like to welcome from Calgary, Aunt Betty and cousin Cindy White. And for those who had the occasion of being in the church, the young lady who is an aspiring soloist, who's now dead asleep, is Frances Clark. Mrs. Clark? And from our nation's capital, or just outside of our nation's capital, where I think there's people knowing what they do, there's a town called Eganville, and I'd like to introduce the brother of the mother of Allan, Don and Donna Groh, aunt and uncle. And they brought with them their son Paul. And their lovely daughter Lisa. Lisa, would you take them? Lisa's still radiant because she enjoyed a wedding this past July, so she's still grinning from ear to ear. I think one of the things about an occasion such as this is the tremendous pride that this young couple can use as the foundation of their future in knowing that so many people on both sides of the family can unite together at a time like this, and I'm proud of the great distances that they have. And for those of you out of town again, I commend you for making the effort to be here today. What I'd like to do is look at some of the people at the head table, all of which promised that they wanted to speak for at least an hour and a half. I'd like to pose a toast to the bride, if she would. Nicole?
and share their joys and happiness like we are today. When Pat asked me to toast her, I was very honored. It made me sit back and recall all the wonderful memories we shared together throughout our childhood. For instance, riding bikes, playing after school, going shopping, traveling, and more of those, Pat. As a child, I always looked up to Pat as my older sister. On the other hand, she was like a second mother to me. She always told me what to do and what not to do. And as a child, one mother was enough. I recall when we were living in Trinidad, coming home from school one day and telling Pat I was hungry. She gave me some crackers to eat, and she took a bag of chips for herself. I asked her if I could have some, and she said no. I said, okay. Then she sat across from me and ate the whole bag by herself. Well, from those days, she has grown to be a warm, caring, and loving young lady who's always willing to extend a helping hand. Not once have I seen her or heard her say no to someone in need. At this time, I'd like to tell Allan how lucky and fortunate he is to have a young lady like Pat for his wife, who has all the qualities and everything that he would want. Finally, I'd like you all to stand and join with me in making a toast to the newlyweds. Pat and Allan, here's wishing you all the happiness, and may your love for each other grow stronger and stronger each day. Pat and Allan. Cheers. Thank you.
Allan certainly does have a beautiful young bride. Allan, would you care to respond?
Thank you very much, Nikki. That was a lovely toast. I am indeed proud to be married to Pat and to be welcomed into her family. And in response to the toast to the bride, I'd like to propose a toast to her parents for bringing up such a lovely girl, and and especially her father for allowing me, for him giving me her hand in marriage to the chain.
Allan had taken a great deal of care in selecting a lifelong friend to be his best man. And John, would you care to come up? Now watch, he says he's going to die, folks.
I'm bored of this kind of stuff. I'm here to toast the bridesmaids, and I would like to thank Nikki for such a beautiful, beautiful toast to Pat. She did a very, very good job. Not selling all the other ones short. I think throughout the whole service today, they did a beautiful job. They all look very, very beautiful. And Pat just picked a great crowd of girls. To the bridesmaids.
And what lovely ladies they are. You know,